What happens when a battle-hardened journalist decides to take off the gloves and confront a royal face-to-face on national television? Buckle up, because what went down on The View wasn't just uncomfortable, it was historic. Before we dive into this head-on collision between entitlement and accountability, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment, because trust me, this one's going to have people talking for weeks. The lights beamed hot across the stage as Megyn Kelly slid into the guest host chair, radiating her usual unapologetic edge. It was a special episode focused on the media and public accountability. What no one knew, a royal reckoning was about to unfold live. Today's guest really needs no introduction, Whoopi Goldberg announced, though her tone carried a warning. He's here to talk about his new charitable work and his evolving relationship with the media. Please welcome Prince Harry. Cue applause. Harry walked in with his classic smile, polished charm intact, taking his seat like he'd done it 100 times before. But across from him, Kelly didn't smile back. "Prince Harry," she began crisply, "welcome to The View. Though I have to say, the timing of this appearance is interesting, considering the things you've recently said about media responsibility." Harry shifted slightly. He felt it, the undercurrent. "Thank you for having me, Megyn," he said smoothly. "Yes, I believe it's more crucial than ever to discuss how the media affects real lives." "Real lives," Kelly echoed, leaning in. "That's rich, coming from someone who's made millions selling his personal life to the media. Let's be honest. How do you reconcile championing privacy while simultaneously publishing tell-all memoirs and sitting for explosive interviews?" Silence. The kind that swallows an entire studio. Joy Behar blinked. Sunny Hostin glanced sideways. Even Whoopi looked like she was holding her breath. Harry paused, then replied, "There's a difference between taking control of your narrative and having it twisted by others." Kelly didn't miss a beat. "Control? Is that what we're calling it now? Because it looks a whole lot like a calculated strategy to profit from family drama. You've accused your family of racism, financial abandonment, security neglect, and yet here you are, still using your royal title, still cashing in on the institution you claim destroyed you." The temperature dropped. Harry's jaw clenched. "You're oversimplifying a very complicated—" "Am I?" Kelly shot back. "Because you seem to mix the monarchy and your family whenever it suits your PR campaign. You claim to love your grandmother, who, let's remember, led that institution. And now your father does, so when you attack the crown, you're attacking them, aren't you?" Harry's composure cracked. "That's not what I'm doing, Megyn. You're twisting my— I'm quoting you," she cut in sharply. "Word for word. You want privacy, but run a Netflix docuseries. You want peace, but throw your family under the bus. You say you're, the victim. Yet you live in a mansion, have global deals, and weaponize sympathy while demanding silence from everyone else." The other hosts exchanged looks. Should they intervene? Whoopi leaned forward, but Kelly wasn't done. "No, I want him to respond. I want him to explain to the mothers watching this show, the nurses, the waitresses, the women grinding 2 jobs, how a man born into luxury with security, servants, and palaces can act like he's oppressed." Harry's face flushed deep red, royal poise slipping. "You don't know what it was like, Megyn, losing my mother to the same media you're defending, watching my wife be destroyed by it." Kelly's voice stayed ice cold. "You're right. I wasn't born into royalty. I didn't inherit anything, but I earned everything I have. I've faced criticism without press teams and multi-million-dollar platforms. I know what real accountability looks like." The audience was frozen. Every eye locked on Harry, who now looked to his co-hosts for backup and found nothing but blank stares. "Let's talk about accountability," Harry snapped, voice rising. "Let's talk about your media's role in my mother's death. In the racist coverage of my wife, in the constant lies about my family." Kelly's eyes narrowed. "Your mother's death was a tragedy, But don't use it as a shield for your behavior. That's not honoring her. It's leveraging her. And your wife? She was a Hollywood actress who married into royalty. Everyone knew the media circus was coming, including you, including her. No one deserves that treatment. Harry shot back, shaking with emotion. And yet, Kelly replied evenly, life isn't fair. Your grandmother knew that. Your father knows that. Even your brother understands that. But instead of showing grace, you lit the house on fire and then demanded applause. Harry's fists clenched. You think you know everything, don't you? You sit here, judging people you've never met, and you literally grew up in castles, Kelly interrupted. Don't lecture me on ivory towers. You say I judge? That's called journalism. I didn't inherit this seat, I earned it. You have no idea what it's like, Harry yelled. The pressure, the suicidal thoughts my wife experienced, the attacks, the isolation. There was a collective gasp from the audience. Kelly didn't flinch. If true, that's heartbreaking. And those claims deserve support. But airing them to bludgeon your family? That's not healing, that's revenge. Joy Behar finally tried to cut in. Maybe we focus on his charity. No, Joy, Kelly snapped. This is the problem. This softball treatment. He's been enabled long enough. This audience deserves the truth. Harry leaned forward, furious. The truth? The truth is, the British press killed my mother, and they tried to destroy my wife. The truth is, my family let it happen. Kelly didn't blink. Your mother got in that car. She chose to be with a reckless driver. She didn't buckle her seatbelt. Yes, the paparazzi were chasing them, and yes, that's disgusting, but at some point, personal responsibility matters. Harry looked like he'd been slapped. How dare you? Blaming her? I'm not blaming her, Kelly said quietly. I'm acknowledging complexity. Tragedy isn't simple, but using her memory to justify everything you do, that's not tribute, that's manipulation. Maybe we take a break, Whoopi suggested. No, Harry said, his voice shaking. I'm finishing this. You think you're so clever, Meghan, he said, with your smug attitude and your ambush questions. But you're just another parasite feeding on pain. Kelly leaned in, smiling coolly. And there he is, not the polished prince, not the grieving son, just an entitled man-child melting down when challenged. Her voice sharpened. You know, the difference between us, Prince Harry. When I'm criticized, I take it. When I fail, I own it. I don't blame my family. I don't write memoirs. I move on. You don't know what you're talking about, Harry exploded. Don't I? Kelly asked, folding her arms. Here's what I do know. You were handed everything. A global platform, a royal legacy, and instead of honoring it, you burned it down. Not because of injustice, but because you couldn't stand being second to your brother. This has nothing to do with William, Harry shouted. But even he didn't sound convinced. Oh, it has everything to do with William, Kelly said. He's the heir, you're the spare, and you've never accepted it. So now you're dragging your whole family through the mud because you couldn't handle being in the background. Harry stood suddenly, his chair scraping loudly. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. Kelly remained seated, calm and cutting. Actually, you do. You asked for this interview. You came here to push your agenda, but agendas cut both ways, and right now, the world is watching a privileged prince crumble under basic questions. Sarah Ann finally intervened. Harry, please, sit down. Let's have a respectful conversation. But Harry didn't move. His chest rose and fell with controlled fury. Respectful? There's nothing respectful about this setup. She's twisting my words, dragging my family, ambushing me on live TV. I'm asking the questions people want answers to, Kelly replied, her voice sharp but calm. If you can't face those questions without erupting, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews at all. Oh, this is me erupting, Harry barked. Standing up for my wife, for my kids, for my mother, that's a tantrum to you? No, Kelly said coldly. But using them as human shields while you deflect blame is cowardly. Monetizing their trauma for sympathy points is disgraceful. And playing the victim while living in a mansion is, well, pathetic. The studio went dead, silent. You could hear the tension hum like electricity. Harry's eyes darted from one host to the next, desperate for backup. Then he leaned forward, voice dropping to a menacing whisper. You know what, Meghan? You're the problem. You represent everything toxic about today's media. You're callous. You're cruel. You're the reason people like me end up broken. Kelly held his gaze. And you, Prince Harry, are the blueprint for everything wrong with modern celebrity. You want the perks of fame without the burden of truth. You crave pity without owning your part. You scream victimhood while bathing in privilege. It hung in the air like a courtroom verdict. Harry's face twisted. Anger, pain, disbelief, then settled into something sharp and cold. He sat down slowly, with the control of a man ready to strike back. You want to talk accountability? He said. Let's. How many lives have you shattered for clicks? How many families have you torn apart for ratings? Kelly faltered, just for a split second. I report the truth, she said. Something you seem allergic to? Harry scoffed bitterly. Is that what you call it? Turning grief into gossip? Turning my mother's death into entertainment? She made choices, Kelly replied. Less fiery now. She was 36, Harry said, voice rising. She was hunted, harassed, treated like a commodity, and when she died, people like you turned it into tabloid fodder. You turned her trauma into your content. Whoopi stepped in. Harry, we get it. Do you? Harry cut her off. Because Meghan just sat there and told millions of people that my mother died because she made poor choices, like she wasn't literally running for her life. Kelly shifted in her seat. I said there were multiple factors. You said she chose. To get in the car, Harry snapped. You said she chose not to wear a seatbelt. You took her final moments and turned them into a checklist of bad decisions instead of acknowledging that she was hunted by your industry. The audience was glued to every word. The shift was palpable. Harry had gone from defensive to commanding. You want to talk about my book? My interviews? He continued, growing stronger. At least I'm telling my own story. You built a career telling other people's stories, without consent, without compassion. Joy Behar tried to ease the moment. Well, that's journalism, Harry. Is it? He shot back. Because journalism used to mean holding power accountable. Now it's just attacking the vulnerable and calling it content. Kelly finally found her voice again. You're not vulnerable, Prince Harry. You're one of the most privileged people alive. Privilege doesn't cancel pain, he replied. It doesn't stop you from watching your wife break down, from losing your mother in a car crash caused by cameras, from knowing your own family fed lies to the press to save face. Kelly tried to push back. You have resources others don't. Resources? He repeated, his voice rising. Where were those resources when my wife was being sent death threats? When she was being compared to my mother in the ugliest ways imaginable? Silence. You could hear a pin drop in the studio. Even the camera crew had stopped moving. You want to know why I wrote that book? Harry asked quietly. Because, for almost 4 decades, strangers have decided who I am. They wrote my story for me, and most of them never cared about me as a person. Kelly tried one last time. Surely, as a public figure, you understand scrutiny? Scrutiny? Harry repeated. Scrutiny is fair. What happened to my mother and my wife was abuse. And the fact that you don't see that difference, that's the real story here. Sarah Ann, visibly shaken, stepped in gently. Harry, I think people are starting to understand the human cost of all this. He turned to her, his tone softening. That's all I ever wanted. People see the wealth, the palaces, the titles. They don't see the panic attacks, the fear. The nights we sleep with one eye open? Kelly made one final grasp at control. But you chose the spotlight. You could have left quietly. Harry's look was piercing. Could I? Because every time I tried to step back, the media hunted me harder. I didn't choose the spotlight. I chose survival. I chose to tell my story before you turned it into yours. So you chose profit, Kelly said, but her voice was barely above a whisper now. I chose truth, Harry corrected. And judging by this conversation, that truth hit exactly where it needed to. Whoopi stepped in, signaling a wrap, but Harry raised his hand. No, Whoopi. Let me finish. He turned to Kelly. You came here to expose me, but all you've done is expose yourself. The cruelty, the apathy, the exploitation of pain for ratings. Then he stood, no longer angry, but dignified. I came here to talk about charity, about purpose, about healing. And instead, I got ambushed. Had my mother's death turned into a talking point. If that's journalism, then journalism is broken. He turned to the camera. To anyone watching, who's been hurt by the media, who's been misrepresented or dismissed, your pain is real, and your story is yours to tell. Don't let anyone take that from you. He nodded to the hosts. Thank you for having me, even if this wasn't the conversation we planned. Harry walked off the set. No music, no applause, just stunned. Silence. Kelly stared straight ahead, visibly shaken. The others exchanged awkward glances. Finally, Whoopi spoke. Well, that happened. Cut to commercial. Cut to history, because in a battle between royalty and media, the prince walked away not as a headline, but as the author of his own story. What did you think of this showdown? Did Prince Harry go too far, or was he just defending his truth? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments like this one.